A major lesson for us in the Republican Party is that when abortion is on the ballot, Democrats get very energized in a way that Republicans are very energized now because the economy is in free fall. There's all these things going wrong in the way the current administration is leading. And so it balances the energy that we would normally be overwhelmingly surpassing the Democrats.
This fall, there are a lot of issues that should touch young voters: abortion, the weak economy, foreign threats, and so much more. So what are they looking for? Blynda Lane went to speak with a young man who works to rally young voters. Blynda?
Yes, Doug. Recently, I spoke with Hayden Padgett, the co-chair for the Young Republicans National Federation, and he had insight about what is motivating voters, in particular the young voter, to show up to the polls in November.
Do you feel like some pro-life ideas might be too extreme for Americans to accept, that they might have a hard time winning elections or getting policy passed if it's too pro-life, too extreme?
A major lesson for us in the Republican Party is that when abortion is on the ballot, Democrats get very energized in a way that Republicans are very energized now because the economy is in free fall. There's all these things going wrong in the way the current administration is leading. And so it balances the energy that we would normally be overwhelmingly surpassing the Democrats in. And so in those states where abortion is going to be on the ballot as a particular initiative, I think it's going to be harder for us to win than it would have been otherwise. But at the same time, it's really important that we all remember that enthusiasm is still there on the Republican side. So I think the outcomes will be more similar to what happened in 2018, where you had enthusiasm on both sides, ramping things up, as opposed to a massive Republican blowout like we are all expecting to be.
And so to that point, I do believe there's maybe only 5 states that will actually have an abortion initiative on the ballot. And so really it's going to be about a lot of other things. I think it's looking like now that abortion might be the number 2 thing, but the economy, would you say, is going to be the driving force of those midterm elections?
Unquestionably, the economy will be the number 1 thing. For older voters, but also young voters, the people who I represent, they mostly will be looking at the economy because that mostly affects them right now. But I do think abortion will be unduly or have a greater impact on young voters than it would on older ones because it's a question of morality, which tends to be more energizing for younger voters. But I think even in that case, there is an enthusiasm and an energy on both sides. The Students for Life organization and movements like those on the conservative side are far better organized than any pro-abortion movements are, organizations are.
So Texas already had really strict abortion laws before Dobbs, and I know that there are some trigger laws that will go into effect. But is it something to consider that because Texas is already strong on abortion, abortion policy, that it might create the idea that you will get a voter that, you know, oh, this is how we are in Texas, and so the fight isn't really there. What will you do to keep reminding them that the fight has to continue?
Yeah, that's a really great point. And Texas is actually far beyond a lot of other states in that our trigger bill already went into effect. So abortion is, in most instances, not legal in the state of Texas. And so to your point, that in some respect, the kind of battle was already won on that part of the pro-life movement. But that's only a part. The other part of our battle has always been, once the child has been born, how do we support them and support the mother and the family so that they can have a great life beyond being born? That is still a very motivating goal and a very motivating topic for pro-life individuals and for conservatives. That doesn't go away now. That actually makes it even more urgent because now there are far more women who are in that situation and far more children to be born in that situation. So I think actually we're going to continue to be motivated in the pro-life side by those exact needs. The other thing to keep in mind on the liberal side, the progressive side. If we're going to see a really large backlash, we would have already seen it here because of the heartbeat bill that passed last year. We've had basically, effectively, no abortions in Texas for almost a year. And we haven't seen a really big groundswell on the other side. In fact, in the primaries this year, the Republicans far outnumber the Democrats in our respective primaries. I think that's a good indication for us that this issue is still very motivating for conservatives. Mm-hmm. It is still not the number one issue for even Democrats. It is still down there, even though it's right in the news right now, and so therefore it's top of mind for people, and that's why it's number 2 on their issues list. When they actually go into the ballot box, it is not the thing they're thinking of first and foremost. It is so rare to have anything but the economy be the number one thing people are thinking of. And that's going to be exactly the same case this time.
But for the younger voter, you're saying that might be 40 and under. What specifically in the economy are they interested in addressing?
I'll make it personal. I just had my first child, and man, diapers are expensive, and formula is expensive, and it's hard to find. And it is hard to find clothing and daycare so that I can continue to work and my wife can continue to work, because most young people are dual family incomes. And when the average cost of living for an American, and that's especially true for a young American who doesn't have generational wealth built up yet or hasn't been later in the career, and the cost of living per person is up $800, $900, $1,000 per month, that hurts. That means they can't go on trips. They can't go out to eat. They can't save for a home. They can't invest in their college, a fund for their college fund, or fund for their children's college. Mm-hmm. That matters to me, and that's something I'm watching very carefully. Mm-hmm. Or young people who are trying to get into their dream job, and the only way they can do that is by commuting to some faraway place while they're living at their parents' house because they can't afford to have a home near where they're working, but they have to go take that job even though it doesn't pay very well, and they're commuting an hour and a half each way, and gas is twice what it was last year. That hurts. Those are the things that matter most to them, and it hurts every single day, both times you're commuting. That's why the economy is number one for young people, like everyone, but particularly for us.
I so appreciate all of your time and meeting with me today. Thanks.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Doug McKelway, and thank you for watching Centerpoint. We hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Leave a comment below and keep the conversation going by sharing this video with a friend who needs to see it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.